Acquisitions Anonymous, number one podcast in the universe about business buying, selling, and operating. I am one of your co-hosts, Michael. Today we had an emergency pod. A deal came in that was so good, we couldn't get away from it. And so Bill and I popped in, and it is a pizza boat that is on the water in the United States Virgin Islands. And it is priced at less than 1 time's earnings. So Bill and I had a ton of fun with this one. Bill is actually, after the recording, on the way to the Virgin Islands to buy this business himself. But other than that, I think this is a great one for you to listen to. Had a ton of fun. And here is the episode. Hey, Michael here. Want to talk to you about today's sponsor for the episode, which is CloudBookkeeping.com. So Cloud Bookkeeping is actually run by my neighbor, Charlie. So I've met him in person and can attest that he's a real human being and a good person. And what Cloud Bookkeeping does is offer a full suite of bookkeeping services, all in the cloud, for you around QuickBooks and other technologies that you're using as a small business owner. So if you're interested in getting the bookkeeping part of running a business off of your plate and focusing on running your business, Charlie and his team are one to call. They can put together a bunch of other stuff in terms of helping you manage and grow your business besides just bookkeeping, sophisticated reporting, definitely helping you get your QuickBooks online set up in the right way, and a number of things around payroll as well. So definitely know them and recommend them. If you want to find out more about Cloud Bookkeeping, you can go to their website at cloudbookkeeping.com. Reach out to Charlie. I know many of you have, and see if he can help you make your running your business easier and more fun by letting them help with a lot of the bookkeeping solutions. So, and when you call, mention this podcast. It would help us and help Charlie know that we're supporting him as well. So thanks a bunch, and cloudbookkeeping.com as the sponsor for today's episode. Mills is in the hardest business of all of us. For the hello, listeners. Bill and I are just talking about how Mills is not here again today because just another misfortune has happened at his company. And he runs a roofing company, and man, everybody on Twitter, Bill talks about you just buy an HVAC business at 4 times earnings, and then you're rich. That's every thread on Twitter, and I'm like, have you guys ever been involved in a business like that? Stuff happens all the time.
Have you ever even known anyone that's involved in a business like that?
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, literally there's every day there's something going on. My buddy who's here in San Antonio, his team is 15 people for the division he runs, and they're basically, I don't want to give it away, but he's got 15 people who are administrative folks working for him doing filing and processing stuff. Literally 6 months ago, one of the ladies estranged husband decided to show up and commit violence against the lady at the building, and killed her, it murdered her at the workplace. And it was just like the level of stuff that goes on in business, people don't appreciate it on Twitter is what I think. Yeah, that doesn't happen every day, but that's the kind of stuff that Mills or anybody that owns a small business is running into. It's part of the cost of doing business,
Yeah. It's small business is tough. It's messy. So
it's just horrible. All right, let's talk about the thing
about another small business that seems way less horrible.
Can we talk about this business that caused me to text you last night, emergency pod, after one of our listeners sent it to us? It's a good deal when I start texting people at 11 o'clock at night, emergency pod in all caps, and sharing the deal. And so this is the deal. Do you want to read it, or you want me to too?
Yeah, sure. I'll read it. So Michael found this one and texted to me at 11 p.m. last night, and here we are recording this. So it is the number one TripAdvisor rated restaurant in St. Thomas / U.S. Virgin Islands.
Uh-huh.
So the number one rated restaurant. But here's the trick. It's not a traditional restaurant. It is a boat. It is a floating restaurant. So the asking price for this boat-staurant is $425,000. It says FF&E is included. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment is included, which is good because I assume that's the boat. So you're going to pay $425,000. This thing has revenue between $500K and $1 million. They give a range between $500K and $1 million, and cash flow between $250K and $500K. It says, this is, and we did not sign an NDA. This is publicly available on us.businessesforsale.com. Is where you can find it. This is the world famous, iconic, and beloved Pizza Pie, the pizza boat with liquor license and a t-shirt merchandise store. It is a turnkey operation. It is currently rated #1 on TripAdvisor out of 91 restaurants in St. Thomas. There are literally hundreds of 5-star reviews with super positive feedback, and this is a rare opportunity to own an iconic restaurant. They have 9,200 followers on Instagram, 11,000 followers on Facebook, and this amazing and popular pizza restaurant sits safely and securely moored on its own private mooring in protected and beautiful Christmas Cove, less than a mile from St. Thomas. This cove is part of the Great St. James Island and is a government-protected cove, meaning the beauty here will always be protected. Turtles and rays swim under the boat almost daily. Even the snorkeling here is second to none. Your daily view at work and your commute could not be more beautiful. When you see it, you will fall in love with it. A trained and competent staff are in place and will keep working with the new owner. The turquoise blue water is 15 feet deep throughout the cove, making a very popular place for over 200 U.S. Virgin Island chartered sailboats and powerboat companies to stop, drop anchor, and enjoy the natural beauty with a piece of the Pizza Pie pizza in their hands. Christmas Cove is always full of boats. Hours are short at just 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and you can choose to extend the hours, but closed at dusk is recommended as the charter boats return to the marinas by dark. That gives you your evenings free. With this purchase, you are not just getting the business only, as other restaurants are selling. You get full ownership of all 3 boats and the whole operation, including, of course, the Pizza Pie iconic pizza boat, a 37-foot aluminum sailboat that has been fully converted into a high-producing commercial pizza restaurant with a full commercial kitchen. And we also include a 19-foot center console powerboat with a 150 horsepower Yamaha engine, a 13-foot powerboat with a 25 horsepower Mercury engine that's used for pizza delivery within the cove. Parentheses, yes, you will deliver pizza from a boat. And a 2008 Ford Explorer SUV for supply runs in the island. There's even opportunity for Ocean View 3-bedroom rental accommodation. Please ask. Should I keep going, Michael?
This is just full of surprises. I thought I was going to get a pizza boat through this thing, but I'm getting like a pizza armada. Like pizza I get fleet. 3 boats, a pizza fleet. Oh, and we got to pull up the pictures. Like here's like the pizza boat. They have pictures of the pizza boat and then the 2 tenders. So you get a little boat and then another boat. And then the pictures of this water, man, Bill, is the weather like this in Charlotte, North Carolina right now, or is it even better?
I don't think the weather's like this anywhere in the world. It's the Virgin Islands, man.
Okay, here's somebody. Then they have a picture of a lady making a pizza, and they're wearing masks on this boat. And there's the ingredients, the dough, a slice of paradise, the whole thing. And they have a website too.
It looks like this boat from the photos has been actually like almost gutted and converted into a restaurant. Right. This doesn't look like some jalopy type thing. This is a permanently moored boat that has been remodeled into a pizza restaurant.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've been down in the Caribbean, but this is a relatively like common thing to do. Like there's a famous bar. Have you ever heard of called the Soggy Dollar? Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have heard of that. Where is it?
I think it's in the British Virgin Islands, but don't quote me on that. I'm not an island person. I've learned as I'm getting older, I'm a total mountain person. Like there's a picture I just pulled up of all these people wearing bikinis, like sitting around and getting sunburned. That seems like no fun to me. I want to go skiing.
Are you not the get tan type, Michael?
I mean, I live in San Antonio and like I'm, Caucasian. So I am spending my entire life avoiding sun. Like the last thing I want to go do is get baked even more out in some Caribbean island with my shirt off. It's just not what I'm going to be doing.
Yep. I, on the other hand, am definitely an island person, and this will be the last podcast I record. I'm buying this business and moving to the Virgin Islands to run the Pizza Pie.
Look at this pizza here. Man, I just pulled up a picture of the pizza. Does this have to win the award for the listing with the best photos we've ever seen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they know what they're selling. They did a great job.
So the listener, and I need to pull up his name, who sent us this last night. This came from a listener. Our best deals always seem to come from the listeners. The ski resort we did last week came from the listener. But like this was covered in Bloomberg. Like Bloomberg wrote about this, and I read the article about it. And the title is "This Couple Dropped Everything to Open a Pizza Boat in the Caribbean." Tara Buis used to be a teacher. Sasha Buis was a programmer at Standard & Poor's. Now they run the best-rated restaurant in St. Thomas on a boat. And let me read you this line when they talk about Tara, who is the one of the partners in the business. Tara says, "Pizza speaks to everybody," said Tara, who is 32 and beautiful in a way that might be intimidating were it not for her sunny, disarming smile. Food trucks. Like, who writes that?
What
Like,
a wet kiss of an article. I mean, immediately.
I was like, what is, like, Bill, actually, I don't know if you know, but people behind your back say that you're beautiful in a way that might be intimidating were it not for your sunny, disarming smile.
Yes, I've paid all of those people.
But Sasha was an MIT graduate toiling away in a cubicle at Standard & Poor's where he worked as a computer programmer for 5 years. "I thought I was living the dream, but I quickly got tired of it. And his lunch became a means of escape. And then they basically ended up giving up everything to become full-time sailboat people living in the Virgin Islands and starting in Puerto Rico and working their way down." So there's a whole article about that. It's pretty great.
It seems like a great life, but the question is, why are Sasha and Tara selling it?
Man, I think that's a really good question. They also have a New York, they have a website it's at pizza-pie.com that talks about this stuff.
Pizza Pie, PI, like the irrational number.
Yeah, pizza. Yeah, that's how can you tell your pizza place was invented by people, started by people
MIT?
from MIT? Like, yeah, it's because it's got a nerdy name to it. Yeah, does it say why they're trying to sell?
It doesn't. It says this is the life so many dream of. And yet they are walking away. I would be interested. I mean, if I had to guess, it's something personal, like they need to move back to the States or somewhere, wherever they're from. But, of course you would want to understand because this seems like a pretty great life.
Not bad. I mean, I don't know if you were there for that episode. We looked at a business where the people were selling their charter boat, and it was like in Tampa or Fort Myers, somewhere on the west coast of Florida. And I've hung out with some of those people before that like leave Buffalo, New York, and decide to move down to the islands and get away from it all. And then they discover like getting away from it all is probably too far away. They overcompensated, and it's pretty lonely and gross. And you spend your days like sanding off barnacles from a boat, and there's always something to be dorking around with. And then you have to deal with the island people. Have we talked about island people before?
No, you better be careful.
Well, a certain relative of mine is a beach person as well. And he would talk about he would love to go to places where the land stopped, because that's where the people who were kind of listless and needed to find their life, they would just keep going until they ran into the water. So that's why he would be like, yeah, that's why San Francisco, Seattle, Santa Monica, Key West, like Miami, like Portland, Maine, you end up like these weirdos, because they're the people that are just like drifting through life to find something, and then eventually they run out of land. That's why Key West is like full of weirdos. That's what his thesis on the whole thing.
I mean, I think we had talked about this before, how, in a lot of places with really great weather, you end up with, people who are there more for the weather than for their, career aspirations or whatever it may be. So often if you are a, young or motivated person who moves to one of these kind of resort towns, you can struggle to find peers or, someone to plug into, because a lot of people are just there because of the Caribbean or there to ski, etc.
Yeah. Well, some of our friends live in Marfa. Have you heard of Marfa before?
No. Sounds nice.
So, it's actually, okay, sort of interesting stuff. It's actually out in West Texas in Big Bend, and it got discovered like starting 30, 40 years ago, when there was this New York artist who wanted to get away as far as possible from New York. So he was pretty famous, pretty successful, and he picked up and he moved to this town called Marfa, which is basically a 2,000 person town. And it is like a 5-hour drive, maybe 6-hour drive west of San Antonio. To put that in perspective, if you drive 6 hours from here, you can basically get to Louisiana. Like that's how, like from San Antonio.
Okay.
So it's out in the middle of nowhere, Big Bend. But he moved to this place because he wanted to get away from it all. And like it's a tiny little town with like a lot of West Texas towns with nothing going on, not growing, none of that kind of stuff. And he moved out there and he set up his art community. And then what happened is a very New York thing. New York and LA people decided that would be cool. So they all started doing it. And now it's like they have all kinds of like connections to LA and New York and these like cultural centers where there's like big art communes there. There are times when like really famous actors are just like hanging out. Like they just go to get away from it all and live in a yurt and have these big parties. That's like, it's become quite the scene. But it's still this tiny town out in the middle of nowhere, but it's out in West Texas, Marfa. I totally encourage you to Google it. If you haven't ever discovered it, it's fascinating.
Weird.
But anyway, so our friends moved out there. They moved there from San Antonio because they wanted to get away from it all. But it turns out when you're in a 2,000 person town or you're on an island like the U.S. Virgin Islands, finding a way to make a living is incredibly difficult. So like in Marfa, our friends ended up doing this thing called the Marfa Hustle, which is you have like 4 part-time jobs. Like one is you're like a bartender on the weekend, you write for the newspaper, and maybe you like, you like work on being a tour guide. Like that's your hustle. And you teach yoga. Like those are your 4 hustles. And you maybe put together a living after doing all that. But I think that's what precisely these people ran into when they got to the Virgin Islands, which was like, well, I'm on a boat, you're on a boat, we got nothing to do. Let's sell some pizza. We'll get our hustle on.
At the same time, though, this hustle is making between $250K and $500K a year.
That's amazing.
That's a pretty good hustle. They're hustling.
Yeah. Well, and you've got amazing pricing power because look, there's only 91 restaurants on St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, so it's pretty easy.
Well, this is the only one in the Cove, though. I mean, period.
Yeah. So you could charge whatever you want. Like, would you like a once in a lifetime New York style pizza on a boat in the most beautiful cove, like in the Caribbean, or would you like nothing? Those are your 2 options. Like, pay what we want.
Well, what's interesting is they say in the listing that Pizza Pie's mooring lease in Christmas Cove is just $1,083 per year. That's less than $100 a month. This mooring is highly valued. It is the only commercial mooring within the preserve, ensuring that Pizza Pie will be the only place for food here for years to come. They've been an icon since 2014. So, I mean, that is like, if that is true, I mean, and assuming you can, I'm assuming this is like a Forest Service, quote unquote, lease or something you can just keep renewing. And there's not like some landlord that's going to 100x the price of this, at some point. And they kind of phrase it as, they've got a lock on this thing, which would be an absolute moat. I mean, in a very unique way. Like when we see restaurants, Michael, you always hate them because you say eventually the landlord is just going to raise your rent, right? And capture all your economics, which is true. But in this case, I got to assume, I mean, if they're leasing this mooring for $1,000 a year, that's got to be like the registration fee, not like a true lease, I wouldn't think. So, I mean, they could potentially have no landlord here, floating restaurant. Kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's probably something you want to dig into. How long are you able to stay there? Did it just say how long they can stay?
It didn't say, didn't mention. Yeah. It seems to imply for years to come that they can kind of be there forever.
Super interesting. Okay, we got to talk about the elephant in the room for this. Can we move to the pooping section now?
All right, a little bit of poop is allowed.
All right, let's talk about the big problem: hurricanes. Like there is a moment in time, and it's going to happen soon, where some hurricane's going to come in here, and you're going to have to worry about your pizza place, and there's going to chase off all your customers for a while. So I think that's a good, besides this risk of your lease, like. What is an external factor that's going to hurt you? Like this is a boat in a cove in Hurricane Alley, on the southeast corner of the United States where hurricanes come in all the time. So that's something I think you got to de-risk.
That's a really good point. I mean, you don't necessarily have to worry about your corner store coffee shop getting completely blown away in a hurricane. I mean, that being said, you think you can insure this risk?
Either self-insure or you get an insurance plan.
Yeah, I mean, you get boat insurance, right? Like that's a thing.
I guess so.
I mean, I imagine it would be obviously a real bummer if your totally custom, kitted out commercial pizza kitchen sailboat gets destroyed. You're going to lose at least a year rebuilding that thing, even assuming it was totally covered. So yeah, that's a risk for sure.
What are there any other risks here? I mean, the way it sounds like is, and I love their operating hours. It's from 11 to 5 because it's not actually like people coming from downtown St. Thomas, like out to your boat. They're actually targeting charter operators. So it looks like people get brought out by these charter operators who bring their clients out there. They snorkel and then they go over, they get a pizza delivered from your pizza thing. Like, you got to love that. I guess, there would be a worry if the charter operators start serving pizza on their boats, but they probably don't want to do that. Like, who wants to have a big pizza oven on your boat?
Well, they also don't have is a liquor license, which these guys have.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. I mean, this feels quite defensible to me.
I like it too. If you want to do this, like, this is a commitment. You're living on a boat or near a boat and you're dealing with a lot of stuff. But look, it's America. Like, this is Virgin Islands, United States territory. So you get to use the US dollar, like you're a US citizen, like that's all this kind of stuff. It's not like you're dealing with, some weird banana republic that's going to take all your stuff or change it for somebody's cousin. So you got to love that as well.
Yeah. This is America. I am in for this. I mean, the only risk I would see here besides the hurricane, which is valid, is if somehow, like, whoever you lease this from gets lobbied to let somebody else drop anchor.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Now, at the same time, though, let's say they do get lobbied and someone else drops anchor. It's probably not, I would argue it might even help you. Like, sometimes if you have a restaurant and someone opens a bar next door, you both do more business. You know, imagine there's like 2 or 3 little restaurant boats in Christmas Cove and, just more people come to the Cove, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how much of a risk that is.
So here's the soggy dollar. I just Googled the soggy dollar, which appears to be on maybe there's a different name for the one I went to, but there's literally a boat, I think, in the British Virgin Islands that is the same thing. It's named the soggy dollar. Hilariously, by the way, if you're interested, there's the soggy dollar, but then if you go down to Isla Mujeres, which is in Cancun in Mexico, they have a bar there called the soggy peso, which I thought is pretty awesome. And I don't know what's going to happen, but for a while, some of my friends were talking about buying it. It's like, I was like, why do you want to buy a random bar in the middle of nowhere in the Caribbean? But anyway, I guess it is what it is.
Let's talk a little bit about valuation on this thing. So, let's say it's between $250K and $500K cash flow. Let's just take the midpoint and say it's like $350, $375.
Yeah.
$375, they're asking $425 for it. And not only are they asking $425 for it, you get like 4 boats and an SUV. Like, included. It's, it says it's all included. So
I know you're doing the Bill special here. I got to stop you and interrupt. It's a 2008 Ford Explorer. So it's not an SUV. It's a liability, but keep going. You're doing great.
Okay. So that's what I'm getting to is I wonder how much all of these are liabilities, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the 37-inch sailboat. That's the iconic pizza boat. You've got a 37-foot sailboat, not 37-inch sailboat. That might explain why it's so cheap. A 19-foot center console powerboat, which is, I think, how they resupply the sailboat. And then a 13-foot powerboat, which is used for pizza delivery. So you get 3 boats, the big boat, the resupply center console, and then the pizza delivery dinghy that delivers it to the other ships in the Cove. And then you get their liability Ford Explorer SUV. I mean,
Ford Exploder.
Do you, this seems from a value, boat and stuff aside, this is $375K-ish of cash flow for $425,000. Right?
Let me one up you on all this. So we've talked about having this Acquisitions Anonymous fund that would invest in some deals and like have operators for them. And my concern has always been like, if we're going to try to make money with that, it's not going to be good radio. Like, it's not going to be very good on the podcast. But this feels like one where like, who cares if we make money? Like, if we found an operator willing to do this, we put up half the equity. And then like every month, part of the thing is us checking in with Bill or Sam or whatever their name is, who's the operator down doing this. Like, that would be some darn good radio, some man on the street type stuff. And, we're checking in on the hurricane. Anyway, I don't know. Are we starting to see good enough deals that we're like, the Acquisitions Anonymous fund maybe should happen.
Can you imagine I don't know if you watch that reality show Below Deck of like the people on the super yachts go around the world. Can you imagine like the drama that's probably got to happen in this cove in the Virgin Islands?
Get Gordon Ramsay involved. All kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah. I think it'd be great. We could fly down there once a quarter and host a podcast on the pizza pie boat.
We're on the pizza pie boat.
I'm totally down. We should absolutely buy this. And you know what? I think we should make Mills go run it. It seems like he needs it.
Oh man. Oh, get him off the roof. I feel so bad for that guy. Mills is just. I don't want to air his dirty laundry, but it's like misfortune after misfortune. Just so tough for him.
I mean, I got to say, this sounds freaking great. And by the way, there are 9 employees for this thing. Yeah. So I don't know that you have to be on the boat every day, which is good.
It doesn't look like it. I mean, it ultimately, look, I think it's important to recognize this is a restaurant that's subscale, nowhere near supply chains, on a boat, in a cove, on an island, out in the middle of nowhere. So you need somebody on site making sure this stuff stays good. That's my 2 cents. But then again, like nobody's expecting like Gino's Pizzeria here. This isn't Bleecker Street. Like
you could be microwaving DiGiorno and no one would care.
Nobody would know. But it looks like these guys are doing it right. Like they're making their own dough. And can you explain, by the way, I pulled up the pictures again. This guy in the water, do you see this picture? There's the boat, then there's a guy in the water with his snorkel outfit, but then he's putting his like leg up like he's like some sort of like water ballet, like water aerobics thing. Like I just don't get it. Anyway,
I think he's posed. I don't know. Maybe he's on vacation. But you actually in this photo can see the 19-foot and the 13-foot boats that you get as part of the purchase. They're all right there in the photo.
Every time I zoom in like this, it makes me think I'm like Blade Runner. Remember like Blade Runner is like enhance. It's enhance. He's like enhance grid 2.5. Yeah. Yep. But I think this is reflective of one of the things you got to know when you do this, right? Like you're going to get island people, island time, like that is part of this deal. Like, and you're going to get some weirdos and you're going to have frustration with staff. And like, it's going to be part of the deal. And one of your employees is going to decide one day he can't come to work because he's going to be doing whatever this guy's doing in the water.
I mean, let's be real. You buy this business, you are tapping out of society. Yeah. And like, maybe that's okay. Like, in fact, a lot of that seems really attractive. You are retiring to the Virgin Islands where you will make pizza for 4 hours a day in an incredibly picturesque cove with people who are probably drinking and having the time of their lives. And then you'll go home at 5:30 and do it all again at noon the next day. I mean, there are worse things, but like this is not the thing that's going to be, going to make you a zillionaire. You're going to meet all kinds of, upperly mobile people. And like this is not, New York City. This is a form of weird retirement, but it sounds pretty good if you ask me.
Super interesting. So the pattern I've noticed of businesses like this, they tend to attract alcoholics or people who are on the way to become alcoholics. So one time my wife and I went to a resort in Eleuthera in the Bahamas, and it had been bought by this husband and wife couple. And they both had they bought it because it seemed like they were trying to save their marriage. And instead they both became even more hating each other and alcoholics because there's nothing else to do but drink Mai Tais and Kalik beer when you're in the Bahamas all day in the sun. And yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, you're on the freaking pizza pie. Like, look at this picture. You got to not have a cocktail? I mean, holy cow.
How do you even make, yeah. Well, are you familiar with the concept of grog from the old days of British naval history?
Mulled wine.
So grog was this combination of water and basically rum and lime juice or lemon juice that they would give to soldiers every day or to the sailors every day. Because a lot of the sailors on the old sailing ships in the British Navy, they were pressed, which means basically they were slaves. A press gang would go capture you and they would put you on the ship and suddenly your job was to be in the Navy below decks. But part of their retention and morale effort was to give them grog, which was basically they turned everybody in the ship into functional alcoholics. So like that was the way they got you addicted to becoming a sailor was like, oh, like here are your 6 shots of rum per day. And remember, a lot of these sailors are like 5 foot tall, 100 pounds. So like they're wasted. And it became quite the way to pass the time and also to keep them in the service. So pretty funny. There's a funny, with Master and Commander, there was the book series of which there was a movie. There's a funny episode where the doctor was like, I think we should get rid of grog. And the captain like looks at him like, are you insane? They would murder us.
They're going to murder us next immediately.
If we did it, they would murder us because we've turned all these people into alcoholics. It's like the addicts would rise up and kill us. This is how we keep them like sedated. So it's just something to think about. If you have a propensity for addiction, there might be better businesses for you out there besides this one. I would not recommend it.
But still, it sounds pretty nice.
What's the next step on this, Bill? If somebody listens and they want to go do this and become part of this show, should we accept applicants?
Absolutely. Yep. I will throw in however much I need to throw in to get a free pizza every quarter when I come visit you on the Pizza Pie boat.
Maybe this is the solution for the Acquisitions Anonymous fund. Like it's got to be stuff that is entertaining, will make good radio, and we think we could make some money on it. And look, realistically, like I don't think we make money on this, but why not?
No, it's the lifestyle. You're getting paid in lifestyle. I mean, this thing is a 1 to 2x deal, multiple deal. You're gonna cash flow like crazy. You can probably even get a freaking boat loan on it rather than a traditional business loan, and move down to the Virgin Islands and live it up. I can't wait.
Super funny. Oh, look. They've actually just pulled up their website. They actually partner with all the little charter companies. So they're promoting the charter companies who bring people out.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're kicking them back a percentage of sales. It's genius. Fun.
And they have this whole kind of online shop where you can get like these t-shirts like Margaritaville. Wow, they have like a nice online shop. We need an online shop, Bill.
We do actually need an Acquisitions Anonymous swag shop. I would love to hear from people what they think our swag should say. It doesn't even pencil. Mill should have a shirt that say it doesn't even pencil.
This deal sucks.
Girdley, it's time to poop on it.
Can we poop on this now? Yeah, well, when Ty starts, our new helper, when he starts in July, he can build us a swag shop. I think it'll be good. So
can't wait.
Super cool. All right. Well, hey, we'll wrap it up here. Any other thoughts from you?
Nope, that's it. I'm doing it. I'll see you down in the Virgin Islands.
Okay, cool. Call us for some radio. All right. Well, hey, if you guys have made it this far, do us a favor, take this episode and send it to a friend and say, hey, you want to learn about business? You want to talk about business? You want to get introduced to how to think about business? Or you're interested in buying a business? Like, listen to these doofuses. Because they know something about it. And look, sometimes we'll talk about ski resorts, sometimes we'll talk about HVAC, and today we talked about a pizza boat in the Caribbean. So good stuff. But yeah, send it to a friend, do us a solid, and we'll keep growing the pod.